What's up? I'm just setting up so I can watch this and save it onto my laptop. Hello, hello. We're getting started in just a couple of moments, but I'm just getting everything set up. So sorry about the close-up. Actually, you know what? Do this, give you guys a little bit of space. Awesome. Dat, Mike, hello. Watch live video. Come on. I really hate technology when it doesn't work exactly how I want it to. Hold on. Might be better. Okay, that's a little bit better. Hold on, let's see if this will work now. Here we go, perfect. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, let's mute me. Let's see if this will work now. There we go. 2 seconds. As you can see, I'm working on a very small desk. Hold on. Better. As you can see, I'm working on a nice small little desk. This is my kitchen table. It's where I do most of my dinner prep. It's where I do most of my work, and it's where I video everything live. I don't have much other option, so everything's kind of squeezed onto this table. You guys have got mainly just a focused image, but sorry if there's little bits of mess kicking about while I'm speaking. I got rave reviews on the shirt from last week, so I'm busting it back out, and I'm gonna maybe see if I can keep this vibe going. Over here in Thailand, it's really cheap to buy sort of like nice wild tiki shirts, so I'll probably keep it going as a little bit of a theme. Just because I assume most of you, like me, are stuck inside, and being stuck inside kind of sucks. So it's sometimes nice to wear something a little bit tropical and make you forget that you're, you know, stuck inside on, for most of you guys in Southeast Asia, it's probably a glorious day like every other day. It'll be 30 something degrees, and it'll be sun shining, and it'll be perfect for the pool. So after this, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. But we're bang on 1 o'clock. So I will get started. Hello, for those of you that have been tuning in up until now, my name is Daniel. I am Mr. Highballer, and I am the Dewar's Whiskey Ambassador for Southeast Asia. So if you are from Vietnam, you speak Vietnamese, I hope you managed to check out Dat's video on his page. I think he's on this. It's dat.lu, LUU.1612. So check them out as well, because he'll be doing different cocktails to me. So it's just more and more interesting. We're going to start off with, I think, the only real place that you can start when you're talking about doing cocktails. Whenever it's coming to masterclasses, whether it's coming to presentations, I really think there's only one place to start. Now, going back in history, we see lots of different, the first cocktail ever, whether you're talking about grogs and punches or whatever. But what really, to me, kind of brought cocktails forward into being a cocktail is the first, the first sort of definition of the word cocktail, which comes in a newspaper article in 1806 in the Columbian Repository. And that defines a cocktail as a stimulating liquor with a mixture of spirit. For this I'm using Aberfeldy. Now Aberfeldy is the single malt that makes up our lovely honeyed note in all of the Dewar's range. It's delicious, it's nice and sweet, and for those of you guys that maybe aren't big Scotch drinkers off the top, but like bourbon for example, this is maybe a good integration into Scotch. It's got those really nice sweet rich vanilla notes that you're really looking for. The second ingredient is ever trusty Angostura bitters. I'm showing this closely, but from the yellow cap and the oversized label you probably already know what it is. This is a bitters. It is been made for hundreds of years, and it's got really heavy notes of spice and clove, and it's probably the one bitters that you'll find in every single bar pretty much in the world. If you don't have bitters, just go out and grab a bottle. They're only 100 mils, they're not very expensive. 200 mils, they're not very expensive, and they're just great to have around. I actually use them for cooking, as opposed to having a big spice rack, especially for things like clove and ginger. Just dash some Angostura in. It just means I'm not having loads of open, fresh spices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little glass, give 3 big dashes there. Now, however many dashes is up to you, but I'm going for 3. And then I'm going to take a sweetener. So here's my fancy bar spoon. You can use any spoon, or you can just sort of wing it. I'm using a honey, which pairs perfectly with those honey notes that are present. So just 1 bar spoon, nice and rich, nice and thick. Now, the definition of cocktail in this book actually goes along with spirit, bitters, sugar, in this case honey, or any sweetener really. You can use maple syrup, you can use Demerara gum, whichever you feel comfortable with and whichever you have at home really. I know most people don't have bottles of sugar syrup or Demerara syrup, so you can also use fresh if you like, but I always go for honeys and maple syrups and golden syrups. It's just super easy. And then finally the last ingredient is water. Now, water can be obviously just added if you like, but the most common way nowadays for adding water is simply to stir with ice. Now I've just got a little block, it's not too big, a little block in this glass, and I'm just going to stir it just for a while. Now if you're in a cocktail bar, you might be stirring this separately and then pouring in, and that'll be really good for things like, a little bit more, really good for things like controlling your dilution. You'll get fresh ice on your drink, and therefore you're not so worried about over diluting it. While you're sitting at home, the chances are you're not leaving it on a tray, or you're not waiting for it to go out, so I don't feel the need. Stir straight into the glass. So you've got your bitters, your spirit, your sugar, now you've got your water, and this is probably one of the few drinks where I really feel that you need to garnish at home. This, martinis, things like martinezes, and probably Negronis. Besides that, any sort of citrus-led drinks, I wouldn't bother with cutting up a lemon or a lime or an orange. It's just not something I feel adds much to my drinks. Old fashions, however, they take great pleasure in being assisted with just a little bit of orange slice. Now, you can cut this however you fancy you want. I have just taken with a peeler. Now just express over. There you go. Delicious old fashioned. How easy is that? It's 4 ingredients, one of which is water. So as long as you've got some ice, you're absolutely fine. I kept this glass with the ice block in the freezer, but you don't have to do that. The rest of the drinks are just going to be out of an ice bucket, so you're absolutely fine. So this is a Aberfeldy Old Fashioned, made with a little bit of honey to really pair off with those honey notes. As you can see, other than my bar spoon, I didn't use any form of special equipment. And the reason I use the bar spoon is because I do not have a teaspoon. It's not something I have bought since I moved here. Whenever I need to take my tea bag out, I just use my bar spoon. Now it's just one of the things that I have become accustomed to both here and back home. So cheers. Now that is the makeup for all those old-fashioned style cocktails. Now you've also got things like your Sazeracs and your Vieux Carrés that also come into there. Whether you're adding things like sweet vermouth for Manhattans or Rob Roys, you're also looking at that maybe as a sweetener and a bittering agent. So this combination of spirit, sweet, bitter, water is really quite common across loads and loads of drinks, and not just whiskey. Whether you're talking rum, whether you're talking gin, it's a really common pairing. The next drink I'm going to make is probably the most common pairing that you're seeing nowadays, and it's a simple mixture of sweet and sour. So for this one, I'm going to use cocktail equipment, and the only reason I'm using cocktail equipment, and I can't stress this enough, is I will be using other bits of equipment, but I don't want to have to wash them out and reuse them. So for this purpose, I'm using a bit of cocktail equipment. Now this is just Boston tins. You've got one bigger than the other, and just that means that you can pop it in. Now you can buy these at most sort of food supply stores, or you can buy them obviously online for pretty cheap, pretty reasonable. If you're at home, I maybe recommend getting a cobbler shaker, which comes with the strainer and stuff attached. That just means that you're not having a next bit of equipment, which is just a Hawthorne strainer. All it does is keeps the ice in here and not in your glass, so it's nice and simple. But I will get started. The way that you do this, the way you build rounds, is not something I'm going to look at too much today. Maybe that'll be something that we can cover if you're interested later on, about how to build rounds effectively, about which order you need to be pouring ingredients in. But today we're just going to focus on getting things into a tin. I prefer to do everything into my small tin and then decant into my big tin, but that's completely up to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a nice sour style drink. Now, sour drinks, as far as style, are really common. Your whiskey sour, your amaretto sour, even nowadays looking at things like your white ladies, your porn star martinis, and everything that's a mixture of spirit, citrus, sugar in somewhat even portion, in somewhat correct portions, you're going to get this nice tart but also sweet flavour. So I'm going to start off with whiskey. For this, I'm going to use Dewar's White Label, just double gold at San Francisco Spirit Awards, whoop whoop, for no age statement whiskey. Now, for all of these drinks, I will be using 40 mils. You can use, realistically, as much as you like, as long as you're using similar ratios. The reason I'm using 40 mils is A, so I'm not just pouring loads of booze in for my home drinking, and secondly, in this time when everyone's at home, everyone's drinking freely, we've not really got things to get up for as such, we don't have to leave the house as much, and very few people will be driving, so people can maybe be drinking a little bit more. For that reason, I think it's really important, everyone, to please watch your alcohol intake. Don't be, sitting at home slamming half a bottle of whiskey. It's just, we need to help look after ourselves, because once this is over, we can get back out into the real world. Now, the second element for any sour drink is citrus. For this one, I'm using lemon juice, like you would in a classic whiskey sour. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a 4-to-1 ratio. So we've got 4 parts whiskey, so 40 mils, 20 parts lemon juice, and then 10 mils of syrup. For this syrup, it's not just classic sugar syrup. It's made exactly the same way. Hello, sister. It's made exactly the same way, but what I've done is last night I was trying to be healthy and I decided to have myself an apple and a mango for my dessert. What that meant was I peeled off my lovely green mango and I decored my apple. Now I had these little bits left over and you could smell they were just oozing of flavour and oozing of aroma. So instead of just chucking them in the bin, or composting, which is also a great idea, I shoved them in with some sugar, a little bit of water, and just left them overnight. And what that's left is this really bright, mango-y flavour. You get a lot of acidity from that and the apple. Not the same acidity as lemons and limes, but again, really fresh flavours. So this is exactly the same as you would make a whiskey sour, but with a little bit of a mango hip. So when we're talking about classics and modern classics, this is a really simple way of taking something that is super classic, whiskey sour, everyone knows it, and adding just another small element. Maybe you're going to look to add those elements that pair with what you're making it with. If you're using a gin sour, you might be looking for more fresh fruits. If you're looking for bourbon or rye, maybe you want to add a spicy syrup, something like cinnamon. For me, I've gone something really fresh to go with a really nice, fresh, delicious whiskey. And then finally is egg white. Now, for egg white, I'm just going to use 10 mils. It is essentially just cracked eggs where I've left the yolk out. You can use other alternatives. We've got Miss Better's Bitters, which is like a bittering agent which allows it to create the same set of froth. We've got Foamy as well, which they all come in sort of little miniature bitters bottles. And then finally we have Aquafaba, which is vegan friendly, and it is the remnants of chickpea juice. Now, I don't eat chickpeas very often, so it would be a complete waste for me to buy chickpeas and use it, but that's a completely vegan alternative that you can use. Again, we can pop in with Angus Dewar bitters. This would be the norm for making a whiskey sour, but for myself, for this style of drink, because I've added that mango and apple syrup, just because I want it a little bit lighter, a little bit fruitier, I'm going to stay away from this sort of heavy, sort of spiced clove flavour. Now, the first process, just shake with ice. And the reason for this is all those proteins that we're looking for that froth in the egg white, they work better at slightly warmer temperatures. If you cool them down, they're not going to froth instantly. Now, this is such a small thing to think about, but it is just something to think about. Obviously, trying to get some of my ice cubes out is going to be the biggest challenge. So I'm just going to pop that in there. If you're in a bar, etc., you might fill up to the top. I know a lot of people use a third or 3/4 or whatever. I'm just using a couple of cubes of ice, just so I don't have to shake it as long. I was watching Ori's wonderful Ramos Gin Fizz class yesterday, and watching him have a wee bit of trouble with the shaker and opening it made me really nervous for today that it was just going to stay stuck. I've seen so many horror stories, maybe more with other types of shakers, of just not opening, so they can be a little bit of a pain. Again, everything's in there, strainer over the top, and just... Again, whiskey sours can be on the rocks, they can be straight up, as this one is. This is just a small coupette glass. It's a little bit on the small side, it's only about 150 millilitres, which is perfect for me. It just means it's watching my drinking and watching my alcohol intake. So, at this stage, if you're in a bar, you would wash this before you make any other drinks, but because we're not in a bar, I'm just going to put it to the side and wash it afterwards. So, 2 drinks straight off the bat. We've got a Aberfeldy and a honey old fashioned, and a mango and apple whiskey sour. I don't know why that took me so long to get those words out, because I made this syrup. It's not should be difficult for me to remember. Also, for that drink, especially for up drinks, we would normally be looking at using pre-chilled glasses. They have been in the freezer, but I don't want to be getting up and coming back and getting up and coming back looking for a glass every time. So for this scenario, it's not super crisp cold, but if you can, even if you're making it at home, just keep it in the freezer and then make your drink, grab the freezer drink, bam. Most of these drinks are made to be drank, well, all these drinks, for example, are made to be drank cold. Therefore, keeping everything, including the glass and the ice, at the coldest temperature possible is perfect. So, final drink that we're going to use a maybe more conventional method. I'm just going to use it's just a water thing, a flask, that's what I'm looking for. It's just a flask. Now, very luckily, this flask comes with a lovely inner grating. Now, you guys might be seeing a lot of these online at the moment. People use them for going to the gym, or people use them for infusing little bits of mint or strawberries into their water. And for me, perfectly, it's going to be great for straining out all that ice and some of those solids. So we're going to start with our glass. It's just a small little rocks glass, but we're going to go again to whiskey, and this time we're going to go for Aberfeldy, Dewar's 15. Again, super rich, really nice honey notes, but also some delicious little floral flavours that maybe you don't get in some of the younger expressions. Again, we're just going to go for 40 mils. And we're going to go very similar to a whiskey sour and make a fizz style drink. Now, a fizz is essentially a sour that is then topped with soda. If you're talking about things like French 75s, they are more like a Collins. Despite them not using soda water, they're using champagne. But a fizz is using spirit, sugar, egg white, citrus, and then something carbonated. There's lots of different variations that you can do. I love making whiskey fizzes with ginger ale instead of soda. But for this one, I'm going to do a favourite that I really, really love, just because it adds a completely different element than most drinks. So we've got our whiskey in there. And then what we have here is pastis. Now, the reason I love using pastis is itself, pastis, Pernod, and absinthe, you get incredible flavours that you just don't really get that often, especially in cocktails. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the cap here, just give a little sprinkle, so not too much, and top it in. I don't know exactly how many milliliters that is, probably around about 5. So what we're looking for is just that really nice anise flavour. It's going to pair really well with things like apple and pear, and in this case, pair really well with our whiskey and its slightly more floral notes. This time, to go along with that anise, I'm going to use lemon juice again. Again, 20 mils. And I'm actually going to go for our honey again, just to kind of pair off. Honey's going to bring nice floral notes. I'm going to use slightly under the 10 mil line while it sort of drips out there. Now, for this is fresh honey, straight from the jar. But you can make a honey water, which might be easier, especially for using in longer drinks. Just take your honey, dilute it with water, and you're absolutely smashing. As you can see, I've got a big bunch of bottles here. These are just rock soda waters with the peel taken off. You can also use single waters. Over here in Thailand, it seems the only way to get soda water is out of these lovely little bottles. So repurposing just so I'm not throwing stuff out, and it also means you can keep things a little bit neater, especially if you're taking pictures. So I've got everything there, I think, and then just a smashing of egg white. Again, the egg white's not vegan, but there are plenty of vegan alternatives now on the market. So just the same, all ingredients in. Now, this little shaker cost me about 250 baht, so about £6. No, 150 baht, so about £3. And it came in a big set with 2 other colours, so it's absolutely fantastic and super easy to find. And if you use any type of bottle like this, they're absolutely perfect, whether they're fancy or now, you would never use your hands in the bar, but to get my ice cube to fit, I'm going to use them. Again, just 1 ice cube, just for a quick shake. It's actually quite nice, it doesn't make the absolute racket that shaking with tin on tin does. But you're achieving exactly the same process. You're allowing all those egg white to emulsify. Delicious. So you're still getting that whiskey, still getting that citrus, still getting that sugar. That egg white's kind of mellowing out, especially those citrus top flavours. And it's just a case of pouring straight into the glass. Now, the reason this is a fizz is because we're going to add one more ingredient. Again, don't add ice with your hands at home. Don't add ice with your hands when you're working, but you're at home, so it's your own drinks. So that's what I'm going to do. And then final ingredient is a little bit of soda. And it's going to spill. Nope. Perfect. So what we have here is a whiskey sour with a little bit of an anise touch, and then adding a little top of soda, just to get all of those aromatics really to the front. You're getting this lovely little picture perfect sour. Don't know how much you can see. But it's just absolutely gorgeous to taste. A wee twist on top, maybe not necessary, but for me, perfect. Ah, that's gorgeous. If you're doing smaller glasses, you shouldn't really need to muddle in to get the soda and the spirit integrated, but you shouldn't worry too much, especially using slightly smaller. And then the final drink. Now, this is something that everyone in the past sort of maybe 2-3 years has spent some money on. This is a little blender. very much like a NutriBullet, except about 1/5 of the price. This cost me around about $10 in the shops, and I just use it for smoothies, and I'm going to make an alcoholic smoothie exactly the same way. So I've already put the pineapple in. This is just pineapple, fresh pineapple, super easy, and then some coconut milk. Now, for those of you budding mixologists at home, you're probably already seeing exactly what's going on. We've got pineapple and we've got coconut. I'm going to put in a dash of citrus and a dash of sugar, and you know exactly where I'm going. I'm going for a pina colada. And the reason for this is somebody, I can't remember whether it was on one of these or whether it was in our group chat, mentioned a banana colada. And ever since, I've wanted pina coladas of everything. So I'm not going for bananas today. I am going to add a little touch of sugar, just a little dash. And then a little tiny dash of citrus. Again, same idea. When you're at home, make sure that your everything's clean, but you know, it's all up to yourself how you do it. And then the final ingredient, back again to the slightly lighter Dewar's White Label. Again, the one thing you need to make sure that you measure is always your booze, not just for balance, but to make sure that your drinks are, you know, sensibly, sensible amounts of booze in them. So, we've got our lovely glass here. One of the perks of having such a big glass is I can fit my ice in. This is probably really noisy, I'm sorry. There you go. So we've got 4 drinks in total. I wouldn't class this as bar kit, I would just class this as what most people have at home. So and then just top into a highball glass. Now this is a proper smoothie. We've used fresh pineapple, coconut milk. You're getting really, really sort of juicy, fresh flavors. And although I am somewhat against going out of your way to garnish, especially at home, we have pineapple leaves from making our pineapple, so why the hell not? Look, gorgeous. So, here we have 4 very different drinks. Here we go. Everyone see them? I'm gonna turn this light down just so you can see the drinks maybe a little bit better. Alright, that's better. I'm not also, see, this is my lovely tan coming on. I'm not as pale as it originally portrayed. So what we have here is we've got a delicious old fashioned, we've got a mango and apple sour, we've got a lovely little fizz number here with a Morning Glory fizz drink and a whiskey colada. Again, swap that out for rum and you've got yourself a banging pina colada, but whiskey's better than everything really, so shh, don't tell the rest of the investors. Thank you very much for joining. Does anyone have any questions about any of the drinks? If so, please just fire them in and I'll try and answer them. I will probably be taking some pics of the drinks afterwards, especially this bad boy. It's my favourite cow, it's like bunny ears. But after I drink them, after I take a picture of them, I'll definitely be drinking them. So that probably goes the rest of my Wednesday, unfortunately. But yeah, all for the good health. As I said, don't drink too much in this lovely little isolation time. I'm cutting it so I'm only drinking 2 nights a week. So this will be day 2, so I won't be drinking anymore after this, which is a bit of a shame. But it's just to kind of keep my health going. Make sure everyone's exercising. And I know for some of you guys it's a little bit difficult to get outside. But you know, try and get, if you're in here and you live in a condo, get onto the roof. If you are back in the UK, take your once allotted exit from your house to go for a wander. I know it's locked down generally a lot of places over in Southeast Asia, so be sensible, don't break any curfews, but do make sure you get some fresh air, even if it's just sitting out on your balcony. Greg and Miles have been doing some lovely talks out on their balconies and stuff. So yeah, make sure you get some fresh air. And you know, although we're talking about alcohol is relatively unhealthy, stay fresh. You know, we've got fresh coconut milk, we've got fresh pineapple, we've got a little bit of fresh citrus, a little bit of honey, but I mean, sugar never hurt anyone. And then a little bit of whiskey. So you're still getting lots of some of your 5 a day. So since I don't see any questions, thank you very much. I hope you guys have enjoyed. On Friday I might be doing completely different drinks. I will double check what I'm going to do. And if I am doing drinks, I'll post on my page and my story. So if you want to have some more drinks, you can come in there as well. Again, Bacardi Masterclasses are all going online to our YouTube channel, which is Bacardi Masterclass, or you can find us simply by searching any of the ambassadors' names. So you've got myself, you've got Boat, you've got Vita, Dat, Mike, Jonas, and Nino. And I definitely maybe said one of them twice, or didn't say one of them, but that's everybody. If you are looking for any more of the pages, there's these sorts of things every single day of the week, so please check on my page and you'll see all of them tagged in, and it has a little diary of when everyone's coming up. So thank you very much. I hope you guys have all had fun. I know for some of you it's very early, especially Lou, Sarah and Verity, so maybe don't have a drink yet, but later have a drink and send me a picture. Peace.